Hello, it's me once again, Adrian Salbuchi, speaking from Buenos Aires in Argentina. Sorry that it's been a while since my last video. I've been keeping quite busy, I must say. I've been researching, I've been observing, I've been asking questions. How come the US dollar is still there? How come the Dow Jones Industrial is still above 10,000? Gold at $1,200. What about the G20? What about global warming? What about Obama? Today I'd like to share some possible answers and tendencies to these questions. What I am about to say are not predictions. They are forecasts based on available data and common sense projections. It's a bit like the weather report. If you see dark clouds and lightning on the horizon on a hot summer day and strong gusts of wind, damp, start blowing your way, it's easy to realize that you cannot be forecasting sunny and calm, but rather drenching rain, thunder, lightning, hail. Common sense. It's called risk management, it's called strategic planning. It's trying to see what the future tendencies are. And we the people should know what these future tendencies are, so that we the people, the world over, may know what to do. So here we are, December 2009, and very, very dark clouds are gathering on the horizon. Lightning, whirlwinds, strong ionized gusts, hail and brimstone are a-coming. What's happening? Three major ongoing power-shifting crises are going on. The financial crisis, the environmental crisis, and terrorism. This is nothing new. The Financial Times specifically mentioned this in a very important article by Gideon Rachman on the 8th of December of 2008. And we've seen it repeated by Herman van Rompuy, who is the new president of the European Union. They are all saying the same things. This triad of so-called crises are being generated and micromanaged by the New World Order elite as key transition mechanisms. Remember this: financial crisis, environmental crisis, global warming, and the war on terror in all its variations. The purpose of this is to bring globalization to an end and to give birth to the next stage in the New World Order, which is world government. Make no mistake, there are no mistakes. They are not making any mistakes. The last New World Order macro transition that we all went through was exactly 20 years ago. It brought to an end the bipolar world of the post-World War II, and it ushered in globalization. It required that one of the two, at that time, major superpowers should disappear. It had to be the Soviet Union, and the Soviet Union went without firing a shot. And it was all symbolized by the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989. Now we are undergoing another macro transition, which has triggered a vast and complex set of mechanisms that are geared on ending globalization and ushering in a world government. At that time, 20 years ago, it had to be the end of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, of the Soviet Union. This time around, it's going to be the end of the United States of America, and again, it is symbolized by a wall, the fall of Wall Street. It's taken them 20 years to build the technological infrastructure for truly global societal electronic control. The internet, cell phones, PCs in just about anybody's house or middle-class houses, cable TV, identification chips, radio frequency identification chips, data processing, all sorts of electronic surveillance on all of us, all the time, from just about anywhere. Millions of surveillance cameras in major cities like London, New York, Buenos Aires. We will see how the key structures and processes associated with globalization will tend to weaken and go into the sunset, and many will be resurrected in a new format to support the coming world government. That world government will grow, it will strengthen, it will consolidate. Yes, indeed, Big Brother is here, and he is here to stay. So let's look at some of the key factors on globalization on the way out and world government on the way in. First, the sovereign nation states in general. They have been eroded under globalization. Council on Foreign Relations and Trilateral Commission member Richard Gardner wrote a very interesting article in April 1974 in the journal Foreign Affairs. Foreign Affairs is the official journal of the Council on Foreign Relations in New York, one of the major think tanks, in my opinion, practically the major think tank. And that article from April 1974 was called The Hard Road to World Order. And I'm going to quote one of the things he said. Richard Gardner, CFR and Trilateral Commission member, said, "In short, the house of world order will have to be built from the bottom up rather than from the top down. It will look like a great booming, buzzing confusion. An end run around national sovereignty, eroding it piece by piece, will accomplish much more than the old-fashioned frontal assault." I repeat, an end run around national sovereignty, eroding it piece by piece, will accomplish much more than the old-fashioned frontal assault. As world government creeps in, it will be gradual, it will be based on the European Union model, it will be multi and supranational, it will have multiple centers. Brussels for the administration, Frankfurt am Main for its monetary policy, Strasbourg for its parliament. Second key factor to keep in mind, the United States in particular, under globalization, it was the global supercop. Now, under the incoming world government, it has to seed the way for other things, for other centers. There will be 5 major centers for the world government. London, that we're going to be talking about in a few minutes, New York as the financial center, Washington DC as the military center, Rome as the ecumenical clearinghouse, and Jerusalem as the spiritual capital of the world, where they intend on crowning the king of the world. The United States dollars, under globalization, is being hyperinflating it. The Fed has been hyperinflating it completely in order to save its friends. Goldman Sachs, Citicorp, HSBC, Royal Bank of Scotland, AIG, Morgan Stanley, Bank of America, certain families, certain states even. All those structures that are too big to fall. But under world government, they're going to usher in a new dollar. It won't be for the United States. It will probably be a new world currency. They might even call it a dollar. That will be gold-backed. And it will enable huge transference of losses to definite geographical areas and sectors of the population. Another factor, polarization, I call it. Globalization has been mainly horizontal, entropic, haphazard, disorderly, vulnerable, formally democratic. The coming world government will be vertical, negentropic, in other words, it will be very orderly, coercive, disciplined, security-focused, non-democratic, even anti-democratic. It will be closer to the old dream of Marxism than globalization ever could hope for. Strategic planning. Under globalization, it was private entities controlling public institutions. In other words, you had the think tanks, you had the Trilateral Commission, the Bilderbergs, the Royal Institute of International Affairs, the American-Israeli Public Affairs Committee, the Anti-Defamation League, the World Zionist Organization. These are all organizations from the background, from the shadows, controlling the public institutions. Under world government, it will be much more open. It will be the public institutions controlling the entire world, but those public institutions will actually be run from behind the curtains by the private enterprises. Another key factor, global population. Today we are 6.8 billion people, and globalization is already ushering in pandemics, it's ushered in war, poverty, natural and man-made disasters, and so forth. The world government will require a population of about 2 billion. Take a clue. The transition strategy goes back to what the old alchemists of the Middle Ages used to call solve et coagula, in other words, dissolve and bring it about again in a new form. For 20 years, globalization has been trying to meet the various challenges imposed on the nation state, with the war on terror, health catastrophes, environmental catastrophes, social catastrophes, financial catastrophes, all geared on showing that not one single nation state can cope with those catastrophes, not even the United States. That's why they will require world government, which I believe will be based, its main mind will be operating from London, which brings together the crown, the nobility and company, because the British crown is connected with the Dutch, Belgian, Spanish crowns, the non-ruling French, German and Italian crowns, and even the sheiks of the Middle East from the oil-grabbing countries. It also brings together Freemasonry, the ancient Scottish and other rites. The City of London brings in key banks and naturally the Bank of England. The Church of England is there. Psychological warfare entities like MI5, MI6, the Tavistock Institute, all linked to the CIA, Mossad, and other entities operate from there. The British East India Company, 410 years of imperial experience, that's in London. How will the transition come about?